Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good, good. Ah, that was so seamless. I love that. Usually it's always like, are you there? Are you there? Like it's like this whole
Oh, I get it. I get it.
awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, I think we're early, but we can get started if you want.
It is all up to you. It is your show.
Perfect. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. Well, first, I guess if you could just introduce yourself. Who are you, my beautiful? What do you do? And then that will give people some time to like join in the live stream.
Sure. So I'm sure you guys can see my name is Asha McKenzie, currently a reporter and anchor at News 12 in the Bronx and Brooklyn, originally from New Jersey. Uh,
Woo-hoo.
so yeah, that's what I do. I've been in news for a while, since 2012, so 6 years, not a super long time. But I've been at a few stations so far, on and off air. I got a chance to stay in New York State for my entire career, which is great. So yeah, I
Wow.
was in upstate New York for a little over 2 years, and then I joined the Bronx Brooklyn team back in 2016. So it's been a good road so far.
Perfect. Okay. And what brought you into the news? Did you always know you wanted to get into broadcasting?
So that's funny. Not really. So well, I knew I love news, so there's that. But in college, I was dealing with the dilemma of doing musical theater or doing
Mm.
broadcasting. I love to sing. So
Wow.
that was a struggle for me. But then, yeah. So I realized it's so funny. A lot of people who did musical theater are news now, oddly enough. But
Hmm.
I interviewed for my broadcasting department at Montclair State University. And then from there, the teachers were so amazing. And I've always was very inquisitive. So news was always a thing for me. So I fell
Yeah.
in love with it. And I don't think it wasn't until, my first internship in news that the love started coming too. So it's just like
Hmm.
you are delivering some vital piece of information to the masses, and it's your job,
Mm.
it's your duty, and it's a huge deal. And I don't think a lot of people recognize that. It's a scary job, but also extremely fun and touching, and it gets your emotions all over the place.
Awesome. All right. So for everyone tuning in, Asha McKenzie, she is a news reporter, and this is the Sisters on Fire IRL series. My name's Natasha Nurse. I'm the host, and she was just telling us a little bit about how she got into the news. Thank you for all the hearts and the smiley faces. I see your tribe, and our tribe is coming out. So yes, please. That's why we do these live streams so people can interact with you. So if you guys have questions, she's here. She has the answers. Let's talk all about it. Okay,
Yes,
so
I
what
answer every question.
what would you say has been the most meaningful lesson so far that you've learned in your career?
Oh, wow. Meaningful lesson that my words matter.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
I know a lot of frustrations with the media is the way we say things, how we portray things, and
yes.
all that. And I totally understand the weight of it, like I was saying before. And just being a person of color and a woman of color,
Mm-hmm.
it's important that I make sure that our community is portrayed in the way that they should be,
Yes.
and not necessarily in the way that people think it should be. So that's something that I've learned, and especially reporting in the Bronx and Brooklyn, it means a lot to me that I get to report on communities of people that reflect
Yes.
and look like me as well as everyone
Mm-hmm.
else. And I think it is a duty, not just as a reporter, but also a person of color, to be that voice where it's like, okay, guys, we need to make sure this is reported in the light that it's supposed to, not in any light that sways it one way or the other, just
Yeah.
is what it is. And I feel
Mm.
sometimes the mark can be missed with that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, it's
words
interesting.
matter. That's the heaviest lesson I've learned.
Absolutely. And with the Bronx, how I would love to hear your thoughts on that, because I feel like as a person who consumes the news, I do get frustrated with some, how some programs, depict stories. And it feels like for the Bronx, it's always a very negative narrative. It's always about some type of crime. I rarely hear about any positive, community projects or advocates. I mean, the rarity of like, maybe politicians who, come
Okay.
in. Yeah. So what are your thoughts about how like certain communities in New York are portrayed in the news?
So I'm not going to lie and pretend that I don't think that a lot of bad news comes out of the Bronx.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm working on the inside where I see a lot of amazing things. So today I just did a story on the Bronx night market. Seems simple enough, but 10,000 people came to the Bronx to see restaurants and
Oh,
beer.
wow.
Yeah, exactly. So it's almost just like, it's what you're looking for, I guess you can say. 'Cause I report on good things daily as an anchor and a reporter. So it's almost just,
Yeah.
I feel like bad news always outweighs good in any situation. I think people hear a lot of the things they want to hear, but yes, I'm not ignorant to the fact that bad things do happen in the borough. But there
Yeah.
are like a lot of amazing things that come out of it that I have reported on before. So I guess it's almost just like where you consume it. And we're super local. So we're News for the Bronx. So we don't just go to the Bronx for crime. We're in the Bronx for everything. So it's a little different on our end because we try to get justice for community members, speak about tragedies and trying to help families get through it and letting people be informed. And we also talk about big festivals or even cops doing great things. So it's almost just like I see it all. So I don't necessarily see the Bronx in a bad light at all. So.
Okay, very cool. Now, being that, you know, and hello, Samantha Reed. I don't know if she knows you, but she says,
hi, Samantha.
You know, and yes, please, guys, put comments, put questions. You know, I have a ton, but I know you guys do too. So please add to it. When it comes to people having access to the news and like the community being able to reach out to you guys and be like, hey, this is the story. Do you feel like that relationship is as strong as it could be? And even just on a local level, like in New York news? Or do you think that there's more that us community people could do to try to bridge the gap between like the news and what the community feels about what's happening in the news?
Okay, so excuse me. I can speak for myself on that. I think every reporter is different. It depends on how you connect with the community when you go out there and report. I always give out my business cards and I'm always just like, hey, you know, if there's anything going on or if there's anything you want to tell us, please give me a call, send me an email, send me a text. I feel like I'm extremely accessible. And I want to say my colleagues are as well. We make it a point because we're so hyper local that it's like you can contact us anytime about anything. And we have covered so many personal stories that affect the masses, like anything with the New York City Housing Authority or anything like that. So NYCHA is something that we do a lot where people have issues, repairs. We try to get them answers. We have an investigative unit. So I believe that we are accessible. However, I do think that it is a person to person basis, how people feel comfortable with the person that they're doing. Because if you watch me every morning, you're going to feel more comfortable coming up to me on the street. Ask me a question. But if you don't watch the other station or you don't do the other thing, you're not going to feel that comfortable talking to the person. But I do think us as news people can do better jobs of outreach as well. I think we do outreach, but I always think you can do more because sometimes the community is hesitant to speak to us, and that is understandably so. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
You never know. Like, you say one sentence and they only use that sound bite, but it's like, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I know the issues people have with the news. So I think it's just a trust thing. We may not know each other, but if you feel like, you know, when you can feel like you can trust someone, I don't know who your favorite news personality is, but you know, like, I believe them, like I trust them, like I'm sure they'll get the story done right. And it's your track record. Because if you look at all my stories and they seem one-sided to you, you're never going to speak to me. So it's important to be fair and balanced and objective when you're telling stories. And I think that builds the trust in the community without them ever meeting you in your life.
I love it. I'm so excited to speak with you because like I've always want to like be more connected to the news because my husband will always, I'll be so upset about like, so my next question is like, what makes something newsworthy? Because like I hear a lot about Kim Kardashian or the Kardashian family, or I hear about, you know, a random child helping the elderly. And then I hear about massive murder and rapists running rampant. And, you know, and so it's such a spectrum of what, so I would love for you to break it down to me. What exactly is news?
I think that depends on every person because if I'm looking for celebrity news, I'm going to head on over to TMZ. You know what I mean? If I'm looking for political stuff, I'm probably going to go to CNN. If I'm looking for local news, I'm going to tune into my local news station. So it's all where it is because it's almost just like you and I probably don't care about the same things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You and I don't care about the same things at all. So it's like, that's why you have the option. I tell people all the time, do not stick to one station. Get your news from multiple sources. Multiple. Because you might want to switch from local news to CNN to Fox to MSNBC, and you'll get different bits and parts. Not saying that anything is false or anything is not true, but you'll get different bits of the story, because I don't even consume my news from one place.
Interesting.
So it's almost just like go everywhere, reach out everywhere, and come to your own conclusions, and hopefully all of them are factual. But I hope so. I mean, integrity. But it all depends, because I rarely talk about the Kardashians when I'm anchoring. I mean, unless it's like some big buzz. But granted, maybe there's somebody in the Bronx or Brooklyn who really loves the Kardashians and they're like, oh, I love this segment. You know, so it's we have focus groups, we have things that we see trend well. It all depends. Everyone hears something different.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Avery, for tuning in. And Joseph Griffin says, I miss Asha. She's the best. Aw, your tribe is coming out. I love it.
And Nick Caprini was my old co-anchor. So hi, Nick.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Okay. So now I would love to shift gears a little bit to talk more essentially about your career. So, and as you mentioned, being, you know, a news anchor and a person in news as a woman and as a person of color, how has your journey been affected with those two identifiers?
Well, I don't think we're always represented. There is a statistic out, I don't want to quote it long, but it's a low number, probably in the teens, that people of color only make up a certain percentage of newsrooms, which I wish I could bring it up. I want to say it's on the Pointer website, Pointer Institute website, and it's a small percentage where it's like startling, where it's like, we need to do better. So that's one issue I've had with representation. I loved my station in upstate New York. I loved everyone there. But there was only 2 people of color at my station. Wow. So, so that was a culture shock for me as well, coming from New Jersey, where it's like we have the East Coast, like this has every culture in the world surrounding you. So that was something different for me. And even coming down here to the Bronx and Brooklyn, it still doesn't matter if there's more people. You still have to be able, like I said, properly portray your group. And not just the narrative that people want. So I think some of the obstacles just have been being brown, being a woman, and trying to make sure that people like me are heard, because everyone else seems to, in history, has gotten a voice. So I think it's important for people of color to be in newsrooms, not just in front of the camera, although that visible diversity matters, but behind the scenes, the people who are writing the scripts, the people who are answering the phones, the people who are doing that. And we do have an amazing crew of women of color as well at News 12 who on our assignment desk, who do the phone calls, get the stories for us sometimes. And it gives me happiness to know. And also we have a lot of Jewish coworkers and people of different backgrounds, which also matters too. So it's like diversity is not just color, it's religion, it's sexuality, it's all these different things in the newsroom, because you never know when you're ignorant. You have no idea because you're ignorant to it. So that is one of the, I won't call it specific, per se like an obstacle, but it definitely has been something I've been extremely conscious of.
Okay. And how do people get that first step? For anyone tuning in either on the live or on the replay, and they love you, they're interested in getting in the news, what's that first step to try to make to close the gap for the lack of diversity in media and news?
Oh, wow. So if we're talking college level, fresh out of college or even grad school, I would say obviously networking in any job is super important. I got where I am today through friends that I went to college with, through mentors that have really, really reamed me out in a good way, ripped apart my work and made me better. So definitely networking. And I think it starts with the top 2. I'm not a news director. It starts with hiring. And just more people of color need to be hired.
Okay, gotcha.
It's like you can be the best, but if somebody's not looking for you, they're not looking for you.
Gotcha.
So the best thing I can tell, and growing up, my mom always said you got to hustle harder than a lot of people. So I think it's just the hustle, the networking, the doing all that is key to getting in news, because news is about who you know. You work on TV, look at the camera. I'm thinking, this might be Chris.
Oh my gosh, people throwing shade. Oh no.
Right? Like, can I live? I'm looking at the camera now. So yeah, I would say networking and just working your butt off, honestly.
Gotcha. Okay. And for you yourself, do you like, I'm sure that there's only certain stuff you can talk about, but like, how much of a control do you have in the news reporting? Like, do you get to pitch certain unique stories, and do you fight for certain stories? Like, kind of like what I loved about the Being Mary Jane show. And of course, you can definitely tell me if that's like total garbage, or
I have maybe watched like 2 or 3 episodes of it, so
oh, okay.
I know.
No shade. It's okay. But like, would you say, how much of a control do you have in like making sure there's certain stories that are shared, and like how much of a fight are you able to put forth to kind of further our narrative of women, of people of color, and diversity as a whole?
Well, I will say I work in a newsroom where I feel like my managers, my news director, assistant news director, managers listen. If I say like, hey, I think this is important, this is a pressing matter, they will give me the opportunity to do it, which I appreciate. And that was at my last station as well, which was good. And it's kind of like, we have morning meetings, we have discussions, and their doors are always open. So if I feel like, guys, like, I really, really feel like this story is important and XYZ. I mean, you got to pitch everything. So it's almost like, I can't just say it's important.
Okay.
They'll be like, why?
Gotcha.
But you got to say why. So.
Okay. And how did you, like, what helped you learn how to be a better pitcher? Because I think being able to pitch something is something that has great relevance in your career as an entrepreneur, and, in various industries, people have to be able to sell something. So what was the biggest source of training?
I will say, full disclosure, I think I'm a terrible pitcher. And my colleagues who are joining in will probably say the same thing. I'm terrible. I'm just like, I can think of like a good idea and like go gung-ho with it and do a good job. And, like, everyday pitches can be difficult because, like you said, what constitutes as news, what will people care about, and all those different things. But it is an art. I think one of the hardest parts of the job that people don't talk about is pitching. And even that's why it's important to get involved with the community, because I'll get a lot of stories and I'll pitch them too, but you want to make sure that what you're pitching affects other people too.
Yes.
Because you'll just change.
Absolutely.
So pitching is difficult. I mean, ask anybody in news. Some people, it's like second nature, but I really do have to work for that, like work to properly pitch stories that I think will not only trend, but impact.
Interesting. Okay. Gotcha. So you're still working on it. All right.
I'm still working on it. I don't even want to put up a front and lie. So.
Yeah. Gotcha. And how big is social media in what you do? Like building your own platform? Is that an expectation for your career to like be building out and then do you have to be mindful of the type of content that you're putting out? Because we've seen some interesting news stories about people in news who they're in their feelings a little bit. No,
I hear you. It's smart to be smart on social media. I've seen some horror stories, but for me, it's just like, would I say this out loud? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to put that in your head. What I post on my professional Instagram is work stuff, fun stuff, but nothing that's where I'm like scandalous. But that's also not me as a person. So I never keep that line of inappropriate. But yeah, you got to be smart, because social media is where I think, especially Instagram and Facebook, where I have the most people from the Bronx and Brooklyn reaching out to me, talking to me, interacting with me. And if I don't interact properly there, what's the point of them watching me on TV? So, and you just gotta be yourself, and hopefully yourself is a good person, because that would be bad if it wasn't. But social media is huge, because that's the first place people go. Like, oh, let me see if she has an Instagram. Oh, let me follow her on Facebook. So
and they check up on you. Interesting.
Exactly.
Okay.
So if you're just a business, delete anything that you think would be a little bit unsavory. Like, just throw it away.
Gotcha, gotcha,
Throw it away.
gotcha. Okay. So now I'd love to shift gears to why we're together in this moment, which is obviously you're a sister on fire. You are living your authentic truth and you're helping push our narrative. Tina says exactly, so that's awesome. And so for you, when you hear the term sister on fire, what does that mean for you?
I think of a woman who is doing her thing, career-wise, family-wise, whatever it is. I think it's a woman who is pushing through no matter what and still achieving greatness, being bomb, looking great no matter the struggle. That's what I think a sister on fire is.
I love it. Yes, yes, yes. And in your life, who were sisters on fire, either personally or professionally?
I will say personally, and maybe I'm biased, but my mama, she to me is my mom and my sister, two amazing women in my life who I appreciate 100%. My mom raised 6 kids by herself, is a psychiatric nurse. She's an RN. She is amazing, still working. She's in her 60s and she is still as glamorous as I thought she was when I was 10. So she's great. And then my sister, who's like my older sister, she's 13 years older than me, always gave me the tough love that I needed. And she is not a single mom. She has an amazing husband with 2 boys, but she hustles too. So it's like I come from a family of women who just do it, career and family. And I think a lot of women, and I'm not knocking anyone because I think it's beautiful if you get to stay home with your kids, but society makes you feel like you got to choose. And I'm grateful for my family and the women in my family showing me that I can do both when it's my time.
Absolutely. Great, great, great. All right. So then with that, I guess, what advice do you have for anyone tuning in who is interested in being a sister on fire in their personal life, in their career? What would they do to have that fire and to have that sophistication and live their truth?
I was just going to say, find your truth. Honestly, it's funny that you say that. Be who you are, because I feel like a lot of times they expect you to be who you're supposed to be by 25, by 18, whatever. I think it's like you gotta take in the criticism, but at the end of the day, you're the one who has to sleep with yourself at night and with the decisions that you made. So before you can be on fire, you gotta be able to be comfortable with who you are and what you want to do. Because if you live any life that's a lie, you're not gonna be on fire with anything at all. So the first thing is finding your purpose and being true to yourself, because that is important, and building your character, because I feel like a lot of people fail and a lot of people aren't on fire per se because they're not inside, they're not good. And I feel like people will spot character at any point. And yes, a lot of people who aren't great make it to the top, but there are a good amount of people with good hearts who hustled up to the top and made it, and they stay there because they are good. People love them if they work under them. So for me, it's just like finding yourself. And once you do that, just excel. Any avenue, any open door, any crack, anything you see that you can just slip right on through or do anything that you can, get in that crack and do it. And if nobody else will do it, do it. Because a lot of times people think they're too good, think, oh, I'm above that. At the end of the day, like, especially me, I'm still a baby in this business. And there's certain things, obviously, I've graduated from, but I still have a lot of work to do to continue to be on fire, I guess. But everybody, so yes, just be true to yourself. Find what your calling you think it is, and test it out. Honestly, there's no water too deep, and we make mistakes. That's something I learned in the beginning of my career, that I was like full of anxiety about making mistakes, and I'm just like, but I'm just like, if I made it here, then I won't make it again. So that's another thing. So character, finding your true purpose, and learning to understand don't make mistakes. And then you'll blaze on. You will.
Absolutely. I agree. I think that I'm a Virgo. And so like my biggest thing is like organization and then also perfection, right? Living up to these high, unreachable standards. And the minute that you are kind enough to yourself and that you release this idea of what something has to be, because something's going to be what it's going to be, right? And you can always improve everything. That's what's so funny about people having anxiety about a lot of things. Things are constantly like moving and getting better. So it's like, it's okay if it's not exactly perfect, because guess what? Next year, it's still going to be miles ahead of last year. So it's like, we're all just like moving in motion. You know?
excuse me, I think a lot of it has to do with whatever field you're in. It's the people you idolize. If you're a ballet dancer and you see Misty Copeland being so perfect, you don't know Misty Copeland at age 12 or 14 or 18 or anything like that. So it's like you see the people that you idolize, and to them, they are perfect. Of course, you're not going to see the behind the scenes where they mess up, you know? So I think that's why people have that anxiety. Hi, John. Have that anxiety and have those issues because they don't see, you know, the come up. They just see the up. So it's almost, that's why I love having mentors, because they'll be like, oh, I messed up all the time, but look where I am now. And that means a lot for the people that you love and the people that you think are beasts and goats in this business will also tell you, like, girl, that's fine. You'll do better. You have that natural talent. Because it's true. You see these people and you're like, man, like, why am I not as good? Well, they got years ahead of you. And even if the person isn't years ahead of you and they have it, that's not your lane. You can have a whole different lane. And I think that's the issue too. So it's almost just like, I forgot who told me this, but it's like, you can't really get far if you're always looking to the side at what somebody else is doing. So that's something that needs to be learned.
Exactly. I say that all the time. Yes, stay in your lane and be daring, right? Because I think that if you're willing to try things, it may or may not work out, but at least you tried, and you don't know what the result of something will be. So just like keep pushing, keep learning. Also, that's why I tell people, read every day, consume as much as you can, because that's how you can get better. Because, you know, people sit around, oh, I want to do better. I want to do better at social media. I want to do better at public speaking. Well, what are you doing, right? Because to do better is to do. Like, you have to actually take action. So I would add that, I would say in my career, I just continue to push and try and explore. And it's I think creativity is like the best part of a career's journey, because it's like you do different things and you don't get fixated, you know? So I guess with that, I love all the gems and advice that you've shared in your story. And I'm just so honored and grateful to speak with you. So if people, absolutely. If people want to get to know you, do you have any announcements? What are all those details?
Well, if you want to get me, obviously you can follow me on social media. I'm pretty open on there. My Twitter is @McKenzie_news, McKenzie. My Instagram is Asha M Reports, and my Facebook's just Asha McKenzie. But also DM me. I mean, as long as it's appropriate. DM me, ask me any questions you want. I have a lot of people always DM me, just asking me about my job, or even young kids coming up that are in college. Always try to give them some advice or whatever. It's just like, I'm a person too, like, I'm not on some pedestal, so you can always reach out. Like, it's not a big deal at all on any of those platforms. So yeah, I mean, obviously it's different when you're talking one-on-one with somebody in social media. Like, you only show certain amounts of yourself, but I feel like I'm pretty open to an extent. So if anybody has questions, they can always ask. Always.
Awesome. All right. Well, then how can people tune into you on TV and all of that good stuff? Yeah.
Well, this is very specific. So if you have Optimum TV in the Bronx or Brooklyn. I'm so serious. If you have Optimum TV in the Bronx or Brooklyn, Channel 12, I'm on in the morning starting at 6 a.m. And then I'm all the way through till about noon. And then I anchor in the afternoon. So I am all up on your screen for a good couple of hours. So like a good few hours. So
absolutely.
You'll see me,
and can you catch that online as well, or no, they don't broadcast?
So live streaming, you have to be, so if you're an Optimum customer, just type in your Optimum ID and you can stream us live. But if not, all of our stories, like the links are accessible to anybody. So if you're interested in reading any of my stories, you can just click on it on Facebook, or any of our reporter stories, actually. One of our reporters is tuning in right now, Katie. She is a Brooklyn reporter. So tune into her story. She is the morning reporter with us. So yeah, you can access us anytime. And if you have anything that you think is important in your community, even if you don't have Optimum and you want the word out on the news, hit us up, call us, anything. Like, we embrace it. We love when viewers call, because again, how else are we going to get the stories? I mean, we're boots on the ground as well, but call us, DM us, anything. Let us know what your issue is, and hopefully we can help.
All right. Well, thank you for being a Sister on Fire. Thank you for sharing your story. And I hope everyone tuning in really enjoyed learning more about the news, real talk, and learning how to better connect their community with the news, because it's important. It's important in getting out our message. It's important in celebrating Sisters on Fire through outlets like the news. So thank you so much for everything that you do. Awesome.
Yes,
have a good
I'll stay
night.
in touch with you as well. You too.
Thanks. Bye.